New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hi, it's me, Bonnie Morgan Gonzalez, your doula for grief. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining another episode and just being here with me as I continue with you to help move the needle on bringing grief out of the shadows and into our daily lives and conversations. Knowing that loss is what we experience, but grief is what we feel. And I am a grief coach, a registered nurse, and a religious science practitioner. Just really devoted to helping people move through the grief that has been caused by loss. And just knowing that grief has that magical power to heal us, to transform us in a positive, life-affirming way. So I say welcome again. And also, please feel free to join the conversation by dropping a comment in the comment box. And let me hear your thoughts and feelings around grief, or sharing any experiences that you have. Before we move into our theme for today, which is anticipatory grief, I wanted to just talk for a minute about the Buffalo shooting, the mass murders that happened on May 14th. And I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I've been living in Jalisco, Mexico for the past 7 months. So just out of that loop of hearing about all of the racist situations that happen and go on. But because planning to come back to the US for a visit, I thought I should see what's happening in the US. And when I saw the news lines, the headlines for the Buffalo mass shooting, for the first time in my life, and I've been alive on the planet, it's quite a number of years. I am obviously African American, but that was the first time that I felt actual fear around the color of my skin. To know that someone could hate so intensely that my life means nothing to them. And I am like the rest of the country. I am in grief around that. And my grief showed up initially as that fear. And I had the conscious of mind to say, I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to live in fear. But that doesn't stop other people from feeling that fear. If we can get together and talk about what this shooting has brought up for us, if we can come together and share our outrage, share our disbelief, share our sadness. For me, it has been a deep, deep sadness. I am just truly, truly heartbroken truly heartbroken. And working with grief myself, I know for me, the best thing that I can do is to talk about it. Get with like-minded people, or get with people that I feel safe with discussing my deep, deep emotional pain around this. And be with people that I know hear me, people that respect me and share the ideas and the belief about life that I share. And I was in Ireland in 2021, and I told the story to many, so I apologize if you've heard it before. But I was in a coffee shop in Ireland. And as you know, the Irish are white, Caucasian people. And my husband is Cuban, he's a Black Cuban. So we were in this coffee shop and we were having coffee. These two sweet little Irish ladies come over to us, and they're elderly, mind you, so they're tootling over to us. They say, "Welcome to Ireland, welcome to Ireland." And I want you to know that Black lives matter here. Black lives matter big time. Know you're safe. Welcome to Ireland. And I pray for the day that that is the sentiments of the people here in America, that Black lives matter big time. After that happened, I could have put my head on the table and just wept, because never in my life has anyone wanted me to feel safe and comforted around the color of my skin. So with that, I come back to the Buffalo mass murder shootings to say that I know we're all in grief around this. This is not the way any of us want to live. And I know, especially for people of color, to be oppressed and to have white supremacy. The only people that can help racism or stop racism is white people. If you're a Caucasian person and you hear things that are being said, if you don't intervene, if you don't speak up, then you're being complicit. You're going along with it. So just know that and be with that with inside of yourself. How you feel around racist statements and oppression. It is a time for us to come together as a nation. And I know that everyone has heard this already, but we need to continue to lean into discomfort. Just even writing what I wanted to say today was uncomfortable. But as James Baldwin says, we can't heal anything. We can't change anything until we look at it, until we face it. That we really have to face what's here. So knowing that, looking at it is our first steps to healing. And I want to honor those people that were killed by saying their names. That is how we honor those who have died in such a violent, tragic, senseless way. Honor them by just saying their names. I will say their names, and you can repeat the name to yourself or out loud. The first person is Celestine Cheney, Roberta Drury, Andre McNeil, Catherine Macy, Marcus Morrison, Haywood Patterson, Aaron Salter, Ruth Whitfield, Jerry Talley, Pearlie Young. Let us send prayers for those beautiful souls and their beloved families that are grieving the loss of their loved one. In the words of Valerie Kerr, you don't need to know people in order to grieve with them. You grieve with them in order to know them. And I would like to suggest some reading, a recommended website to help us grieve through this together. And Valerie Kerr does such a beautiful job on her website. She has a complete toolkit on grief as a practice of love. Grief as a practice of love. I invite you to go to that website. Look at that toolkit on grief. And do what you need to do. If it is to rage, to bang your fist, if it's to cry, I need you to do that. I need you to do that so that those emotions move through you and out and they motivate you to move forward versus keeping them in, keeping them suppressed and living in fear and rage. Let's get it out. Let's get it out. Let's be with others that are doing the same thing. If you don't have someone, look around for groups, organizations. There is just a plethora of organizations that want to see change. And instead of focusing on those perpetrators, those people that hate us or want to shoot us, let's focus on those that want to help us, elevate us, and uplift us, and work together hand in hand with those groups. I want to say that I'm going to just take a breath here. I'm really feeling that sadness that I talked about. I want to say that New Thought Media does offer daily prayer, 8:15 a.m. Mountain Time and 8:15 p.m. Mountain Time. And also you can send in prayer requests to prayer at New Thought Media or ntmedia.org. So I thank you. Let's all just take a minute of silence for what has gone forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and then I'll come back with our guest and our theme, Anticipatory Grief. And my guest is Carol Elizondo. Thank you. So we'll take a break and come back.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hi, I'm still Bonnie Gonzalez. I'm still your doula for grief. So welcome back. And thank you for honoring me with honoring the list of the victims of the Buffalo shooting. So thank you. And we're going to shift gears into anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief is that grief that comes before an anticipated loss or death. So it's the grief that comes in anticipation of that loss. And I just have a really special, just a truly beautiful guest who has agreed to share her story. And I'm just so honored that she has said yes to come on and to share such personal and deep insights. So Carol Elizondo was born in Brooklyn and grew up on Long Island. She graduated from college in Ohio with a journalism degree, which she has yet to use, and that's coming. She moved to San Francisco in the late 60s and met her husband, Bob, there. He had been born and raised in Missouri. They were together for almost 50 years, married for 47. Two beautiful daughters, one living in California, who has two children, and one who lives in Indianapolis. Her granddaughter is 11, and her grandson is 9 months. Carol lost Bob to kidney, bladder, and liver cancer in July of 2018. Carol loves to read, enjoy good movies and TV. She's an introvert, though, who loves to talk in small groups, but needs some quiet time afterwards. I'm with you there. I'm an extrovert. I still need quiet time. A confirmed walker and exerciser, Carol believes that kindness is everything and that the glass is not half empty or half full, but refillable. So here's Carol. Welcome, Carol. Thank you. We've been playing a little internet tic-tac or something here. Carol, can you hear me?
I can now. Yes, thank you. I'm having a couple of technical difficulties. Every now and then you disappear and your voice freezes up, but I see you and hear you now.
All righty. Well,
ready for me to speak. Yes. Your screen is frozen at the moment. I think you're ready for me.
Yes, you go ahead and speak. Yes, speak, Carol, speak. Okay, Carol.
Bonnie, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you. You're such a positive, upbeat, wonderful person. And thank you for what you said about the Buffalo shootings, because I think we need to keep that in mind. And what you said about Ireland rang very true to me. I visited a few years ago, and people talk about Ireland as being a place of geographical beauty, green hills and all that kind of thing. I live in California, which is one of the most geographically beautiful places on earth. So I don't need to go someplace to see beautiful mountains and lakes and green hills. What I got from Ireland was the soul of the people. And that's what made the impression on me. And I felt from my observation that the Irish as a people have suffered a lot over the years. And that suffering has made them deeply empathetic and caring, and has made them value human life and human fortune more than the average. And if there could be any possible reason for suffering, to me, it has to be for us to develop more empathy, for us to realize when other people are suffering, what they need and what we can give to them. And I think that's what this show means to you. So you've asked me to talk about anticipatory grief, and I experienced it twice. My husband was diagnosed with kidney cancer first, and we were told, we're going to take out the kidney, everything will be fine. People that we knew said, easy peasy, surgery's nothing, you'll be good as new, you can live for another 30 years. And that's kind of what we thought. And after he had the surgery, and I read up in Google, and I want to caution all of you not to do that. Going to Google to look up medical advice is a really bad idea.
Don't.
Yes. So I went to Google, and I think his diagnosis was a T3, but I blocked a lot of that out. They designate kidney cancer in certain stratas. And
Yes.
when I looked at that, it told me that 50% of the people with this diagnosis live 5 years. And I was shocked by that because I thought we had another 15 or 20. It never dawned on me. The doctors never mentioned anything about the fact that only half of the people make it 5 years, which was nowhere near long enough to me.
Yeah.
And so I was shocked by it. And I remember talking to my daughter, the one who lives here in California, and I told her, and I was losing it. And she said to me, Mom, life is what it is, but a negative attitude makes everything worse. You need to be positive.
What a wonderful daughter.
Think of the good and proceed in that direction. And I did. But underneath that, I think I was grieving already, worrying about what was to come, facing the fact that maybe we wouldn't have the 15 or 20 more years that I thought we would have, that we wouldn't make it to our 50th anniversary, which I thought we would. So the second anticipatory grief was when Bob was diagnosed. He was much sicker than we knew, and he had emergency surgery on January 1st in 2018. And at that time, they discovered the bladder cancer. His kidney cancer had gone downstream, as his doctor put it, and had gone into the bladder and the ureter. And so at that time, we were told, okay, we're moving you from urology to oncology. We're going to, the cancer has progressed. We're going to have to move forward with that. And when we met with the oncologist, he told, he sent us for a bunch of tests. And it's interesting how I just said us, because throughout that experience, we have chemo on Monday, we have blood tests on Tuesday. And it dawned on me that all of it was always us with us. It wasn't him or me. It was always us. So he said to Bob, you've been sick a long time. We cannot save you. This is terminal. And he would not give us any kind of an ETA. And we really wanted to know that, what are we looking at here? And he wouldn't tell us. He absolutely wouldn't. But we knew that it wasn't going to be forever. And the way he put it was, we can help you to feel a little better. We just can't save your life. And I asked him, because we had a neighbor who'd suffered from esophageal cancer. And the way his doctor explained it to him was, if you've always wanted to go to Paris, go now. This is the time to go. And I said to our doctor, Bob doesn't want to walk across the street to Starbucks. That's how sick he is. He doesn't want to go anywhere or do anything. What can you do for us to help him enjoy the rest of his life?
Quality of life.
And his answer was, I can give him pain medication. And that didn't work at all. It gave morphine.
Yeah.
Morphine, Bob certainly never had. It made him crazy. It made him loopy. And so the anticipatory grief in this case was, I knew it was coming. I didn't know when it was coming. We were hoping that the treatment, the chemo that they gave him, would improve it a little bit so that he could enjoy life a little bit more. But it wasn't. It wasn't doing that. And it was changing his personality. And Bob was kind of like I am. He was quiet. He was introverted, but he was very funny in a dry way. But he was never a party animal. He was never wanted to be, in the spotlight. And suddenly it was like living with a talk show host. He was just, all over the place. And I was like, oh my God, what happened to my husband? This isn't the man that I knew and loved and married and lived with for all these years. This is some weirdo. I'm sure a lot of people would have loved him the way he was, but it wasn't who he was to me.
What you were accustomed to. This was
exactly.
not.
So I was experiencing the loss already. It's like I've already lost him. The Bob that I knew is gone. And now I'm living with this strange person that I don't have a lot in common with. And I'm trying to make it through. And my daughters felt the same way. My daughter from Indiana came to visit and said, I don't know who the hell this is, but it's not my dad.
But Carol, I was just going to ask, was it the medications you felt, or was it just?
I don't know. I do know that Bob had a tendency towards bipolar. He was never diagnosed as bipolar, but in our family circle, he had moods that we've referred to as his Eeyore phase when he was like, oh, poor me, and his Tigger phase when he would kind of bounce around and be crazy. So we sort of dealt with that within our family. He was never medicated for it, but it would kind of come and go. And the family had trouble with the Tigger phase. That was something we had difficulty relating to. I was better at the Eeyore phase. I understand depression and can relate and deal with it a little bit better, but the wild craziness of the Tigger phase was never something the family was able to deal with very well. But this was just minor, which would happen from time to time. So it was like the disease kicked him into full-time Tigger phase and even worse than normal. So the anticipatory grief for me was experiencing the loss of my husband as I knew him already, worrying what would happen when he was gone, dealing with the day-to-day, what I referred to at the time as kind of a fire hose of horror. It was just all coming at me a mile a minute, and I couldn't absorb it. I do know that I knew that the only way to handle it, the best way to handle it, was to live minute to minute, to not live in the future and not live in the past, to just live with this second. And I think when you talked about fear earlier, I really related to that. And I think the only way to deal with fear, and I'm not saying I can do this, is to live in the minute. Am I safe right this minute? Not am I going to be safe when I go to the grocery store, which is a horrifying thought that you might not do. But to live right in the minute. I'm okay right now. If I thought to the past with Bob or I thought to the future with Bob, it would tear me apart. So I tried to live in the minute, but I wasn't very successful at that. I don't know that any of us are. It's tough to do. It's tough to do.
Yes, it's an ongoing process. It's about coming back. Each time you're coming back. Oh yeah, I am scared, but come back to the moment. It's all about coming back to the moment.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like I cut you off, so you go ahead. But just when you said that about being in the moment,
no,
I so agree with that. It's so agree. That
I don't think you did cut me off, but I do know that there is a tremendous amount of anger with anticipatory grief. I felt huge anger. And since then, I've heard the quote that I really love that says, I sat with my anger for a really long time until she told me her name was grief. And I think that sums it up. You don't know you're grieving, but you are. And you're sad, but you're also furiously angry. And but it's unfocused anger. You don't know where to send it. You don't know where it came from, and you don't know where to put it. You're just debilitated by it. I remember feeling that. I don't know if the anger would go away. If I tried to be more present, I don't know if that would take away the anger. I'm not sure it would. But for anybody experiencing anticipatory grief, just be aware that your anger is normal. That's one of the reactions we have to that.
Yes. And grief disguises itself so many times as anger. Grief disguises itself behind lots of emotions, but anger is its favorite. Anger is its favorite. And if you can just be with it and as you said, let it continue. It finally told you its name was grief. So
it didn't at the time. It didn't at the time. I didn't learn that till long afterwards.
Yes. Well, that's why you're here, Carol, to really be a resource for others, to share your story with others. And I'm gonna take a break, and I want to come back and ask you some questions around. I think you were asking about an ETA for Bob, and I just wanted to ask, what were you looking for when you asked that question? What was it that you wanted when you asked that question?
What we wanted was to know what was ahead. And of course you can't. So that's a silly question. And our doctor refused to answer. But I've heard so many times that people have said, you have about 6 months, you have about a year, you have about a year and a half. I wanted somebody to tell us that. And I look back and I think, when I read that he might not have more than 5 years, I didn't share that with him. I shared it with my daughters, but I didn't share it with him. And I look back and I think, maybe I should have. Maybe I should have said to him, there's a 50-50 chance you will only have 5 years. How do you want to spend those years? What's the most important thing to you, and what do you want to do? But I didn't do it because instinctively I felt that would make him give up. That would make him feel depression. I don't know what I thought, but it felt like he shouldn't know that he would be happier if he didn't know that. Now I wonder if that would be true. But I wanted the doctor to tell us, this is how much time we think you have. And then he and I could have said, this is what we want to do with that time.
Yes.
Tell us. And so because he wouldn't give us anything, just nothing at all, we were floating. We were just drifting, not knowing how long is this going to be. He was so sick that it wouldn't have mattered a lot. The way the doctor put it to us was, he's had this a long time. We don't know how long. And so maybe no matter what he said, Bob was too sick to appreciate what he could do. The possibilities were not there.
Right.
But I would have liked more. And I was going by, I thought he had 18 months. And I was going by David Bowie had liver cancer and he lasted 18 months. I mean, how do I know? Right. To me, but he had only 6 or 7 months. And I wish I'd known that, maybe it wouldn't have made any difference. Maybe it wouldn't.
It's just difficult, Carol, because I hear the opposite from other people. That, well, the doctor said gave us 3 months. How could they be so how could they know? Who are they to tell us we only have 3 months? And then my husband lived for 3 years, but the whole entire time we couldn't enjoy it because we kept thinking he's going to drop any minute. Right. I think it has to be what your needs are.
Right.
Your needs to be honored, because we all are so different.
Exactly. And we kept saying to him, we want to know. And he wouldn't tell us. So I understand that you wouldn't just automatically say to your patients, this is what I think.
Yeah.
You want to feel out your patients and see what it is will work for them. And we both wanted it. And, I said to Bob, maybe he won't answer the question because it's coming from me and not from you. And we don't have to know if you don't want to know. And he said, no, I really want to know. And I said, if you really want to know, then you're going to have to ask.
You're going to have to man up and ask. You're going to have to man up.
Yeah. And so Bob asked him, but he wouldn't answer. And the way he answered was, how would I know any better than you would? Well, you don't, because you've been to medical school and you've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of people. And why would we know anything?
Or you've seen the progression of this type of disease, and given, give or take, everybody's different. But that doctor has had experience with the progression of that particular disease. And that's why we put so much trust in them and asking them, because we feel like
he wasn't a good communicator. And we could have switched to another doctor. Bob's primary care doctor was a wonderful, wonderful woman. And she said, I got lots of names I can give you. But Bob, in his illness, I think, decided that he loved this man. At the beginning he did, and at the end he didn't. But in the middle of all this uncharacteristic euphoria, he decided that he loved this man and hugged him, which scared the living hell out of him. It was like, oh my, what are you doing? Because Bob just had, his emotions were just running wild. And so he didn't want to change to another doctor. But when it was all over, when we were down to the very end, he was like, then he was angry. Then you go through things you just don't even know you're going through.
Yeah. But that's really important that you were talking about honoring Bob, that he loved this physician so much, because the person that is ill has to have confidence and trust in the person that's taking care of.
Yeah.
We're already up against a really difficult emotional time. And then to add on top of that, distress.
I think we would have done better with a better communicator. I think probably our doctor was a terrific doctor, but not a good communicator. And we all like something different. We all have a different style. He wasn't our style. If anything happens to me, that wouldn't be the doctor I would choose. But
right. I was going to say, being a nurse for so many years, physicians are not comfortable with death. We live in a culture that don't.
Yeah.
So just because it's a doctor who has lots of patients that have chemotherapy lost, that doesn't mean that they're comfortable.
Right. Yeah. I'll tell you something interesting that I would advise anybody who's going through this, and it may fall into the anticipatory grief thing. The hospice nurses told me if you want to we think you should have a party. Don't wait till after. Have a party now. And I did do a party, and they told me, he was only in hospice a little over a week. You know, they never refer you until it's too late, unfortunately.
Yeah, so true.
But they told me this, and they said, when can you do it? And I said, I can do it Friday. And they said, it may be too late. And I said, what do you mean too late? And she said, he may not be able to communicate by then.
Right.
And this was like a Monday or Tuesday. And it was true, he couldn't. I think he spoke his very last words that night. And but I know he heard what everybody was saying to him. And it's one of the best things, the best advice I got, and the best thing I did was to invite a whole bunch of friends and families, all of our neighbors, and everybody come in. And I said to everybody, go back into the bedroom and tell Bob what you've always wanted to say to him.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was one of my neighbors said, I don't know what to say to him because she didn't know him very well. And hospice had said to me, don't let them say down things, don't let them depress him. And I said, okay, if you don't know what to say, just say to him, Bob, you're the best looking man I've ever met in my life, and a wonderful dancer.
And walk away. Walk away. Oh my gosh. I think on that note of laughter, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back because I want to address anticipatory grief that is experienced by the person that is dying.
Yeah.
It's not just us that are looking, but that person that is preparing to die. So we will talk about that. We'll come back.
Okay.
From a break and go forward. Oh, Carol, this is wonderful. We'll be back in just a minute.
New Thought Radio, music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Namod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring.
Welcome back. I just want to jump into our comment box here. Carol, I see that Crystal Higgins has sent a note. Prayers for the people that lost someone in that event, and prayers for those injured. And just want to let you know, let Crystal know there were 3 people that were injured, and they've been treated and released. And our Diego, bless our one. Thank you. So, Diego, wonderful. Thank you. And Crystal, who's my sister, thank you. Oh, there's another. Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. So, Carol, we were just talking about we are in the midst of a conversation of discussing anticipatory grief. And I was saying that I was going to come back to the fact that the person that is actually dying also can experience anticipatory grief. And I was going to ask you, did you notice that involved? Was there an incidence of him having anticipatory grief?
Yes, I don't know exactly what he was feeling, but what I could see was that he didn't want to miss a thing. He wanted to experience everything. And I go to the Episcopal Church. He wanted to come to church with me. He wanted to go to activities at the church. He wanted to go everywhere and do everything and see everybody. There were things that he would have turned down, things that he wouldn't have been interested in, but he was not going to miss a thing. Mm-hmm. And that's probably good advice to all of us to live that way now. Don't wait until you get a diagnosis. that we all are living every moment. And from what we noticed with Bob, our family has said, eat the cake, drink the champagne, go to the party, take the pictures, don't put any of that away. And we're all saying, and especially me, I don't want things. Don't give me gifts. I don't need anything else in my house. I want experiences. I want us to make memories and remember those things and take those pictures and, forget about the diet and just enjoy your life, every single minute of it. Because I could see that he was feeling that he'd said no to too many things in his life because he was hurt and he was someone who didn't like to be in big parties. And I think we all have regrets. So we need to work on those regrets now. And I really feel that way with my family, that we try to spend more time together. My Christmas present to my kids this year was we all took a trip. The ones from Indiana met us in New York, and the ones from California, we all went to New York together and spent a few days. And we'll never forget it. It was a terrific trip, and we want to do that kind of thing again.
Yes.
Spend our money, whatever we have, on times together.
Yes. Make a memory. Those live forever.
Yes.
Those live forever. I did a show a couple weeks ago. It's the 5 invitations. The 5 invitations that death offer us about living. And that was definitely one of those things. Don't wait. That you want to live a life of no regret. Don't put things off. Don't wait. So you're living that part of it, Carol. You don't have to worry about that.
I'm trying to keep that in mind, and the other thing is, tell the people you love that you love them. Don't put a on that. My gift now to members of my family and close friends of mine is when I send a birthday card or when I do a sympathy card, and at my age you do a bunch of those, that you put a lot into it and you tell people exactly how you feel about them, what you love about them, what you remember about them, what's important to you. So you don't just say, have a happy birthday. You tell them how you feel. Do it now. You don't, don't wait till their funeral to stand up and tell everybody how great they were. Tell them how great they are right this minute. And I learned from, my experience that you don't just send a blank sympathy card. You reach down deep and you think about the person who is gone. You think about the family who's grieving them, and you try to say something to them to make them feel good. And I sob every time I do one of these cards because you got to put yourself into it. You've got to, and the birthday cards too. You've got to give it out to people. You don't know how long you'll have to do it.
Right. Thank you. I want you to start the Carol blog. Okay, the blog. And the do's and don'ts. I was doing the do's and don'ts on Instagram, so I'm going to be looking for Carol's do's and don'ts on her blog.
On birthday cards and sympathy notes. Yeah.
And Crystal was saying, good idea on your sharing. I was just going to ask. We were talking about anticipatory grief on the part of Bob, and do you think this personality shift that you talked about? You had a name. I'll just say Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
Do you think that was a part of? You were saying he was more of a quiet, rather introverted man, but then he was suddenly extroverted and really alive. And do you feel that could have been? I know we're just speculating, but could that have explained his change in personality?
Yes.
I'm gonna die, but we do all those things that I held back.
Yes.
From doing.
Absolutely, I do.
I was going to say my brother died from pancreatic cancer in 2020, and I know just sitting with him that he did experience that anticipatory grief. This was just a few days before he died. He was saying that he was feeling really sad for his wife, He was really feeling sad for her because her mother had just died 2 weeks before. And he was saying, she just lost her mother 2 weeks ago, who lived with them. So it was a really part of the family. Right. And he said, He said that he felt really bad for her because she just lost her mother, and then he says, "Now I'm going." And my way of being with him around that, I said, yes, it's sad, but we'll love her up. We'll just love her up. And yeah, and to that he just closed his eyes and had a peaceful look. Therefore I know that people that are dying do suffer anticipatory grief.
And I know that he was worried about me. He was worried about me and about the family, and he wanted to buy a new car for me. And I was saying, maybe we don't need to do this right now. And a friend of mine who lost her husband to cancer said, Carol, he wants you to have that car. He wants to know that you're in a safe car when he's gone. And it was really obvious that he thought this was important. And not only did he want that, he wanted me to do it. So he stepped out of the process. And, he was very sick, but we went to the car place. He went in and sat down because it was a cold day and had a glass of water and said to the salesman, go out there and sell that lady a car. Go out there and sell her one right now.
Gosh, how thoughtful!
He was wonderful. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. He was the best, and he wanted me to do all the negotiating, all the finance. He wanted to step out of that and show me that I could do that on my own, which I could. But if he'd been sitting there at the desk with me, they would have addressed everything to him because that's how people treat men. The woman has to say in this, and we should be talking to the man. He wanted to make sure that they knew it was me that was buying the car, and that they needed to talk to me about it and to give me that experience and to know that I was in a safe car. So he was anticipating it and trying to plan for the future. And I know that I don't know a lot about this. I'm not a nurse, and I've never been around anyone who was dying before. It's not my area of expertise or my talent. I mean, there were reasons why I didn't become a nurse. I'm not going to.
Well, there are reasons why that I did.
And I wish I'd known you back then. It would have been so wonderful to know you and learn from you, but I was struggling on my own. And I know that he was very agitated at the end. And I did what hospice told me to do and let him go and said, I'm going to be okay. Don't worry about me. And that I've always loved you. It's okay. It's okay to go. It's hard.
Yeah, that's one of the components of anticipatory grief.
Yeah.
That you love them. You really don't want them to go, but you still want to hold on to hope, but you have to release at the same time. It's just really a difficult dance to try and do.
Yeah.
So
when his doctor told us she was referring him to hospice and we were on speakerphone together, we did all those things together. And, he always took me into his appointments and introduced me to everybody. And that was such a wonderful thing about him. And she told us that she wanted him to be on hospice. And we hung up the phone and he said to me, am I dying? And I said, we're all dying.
Yes.
We're all dying. It's and we laid on the bed and cried together.
And cried
together.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think we should have done more of that sooner. We should have talked more. And I should have been more present. And I did the best I could, but I wish it had been.
I was going to say, Carol, be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
There are no instructions.
I know. But you're doing such a service for people. I wish I'd had this. I had nothing. I was just trying to make it on my own. And I look back and I remember how lonely it was. It was so lonely. And it was lonely because I didn't want to bother anybody. Family would say, what can we do for you? Can we bring something? And I'd say, no. I'm at the emergency room. Can we come down? No, I'm fine. And even after I kept saying, I'm okay. I mean, I spent the first year, with a smile on my face. I'm okay. Don't be worried.
I was just gonna ask. I wasn't gonna ask this, but now that you're saying that, when do you think you finally just had that break? Like, I'm not okay. I am not okay.
I'll tell you when I had the break was at year 3. And I'm coming up on year 4. I'm almost finishing. I'm almost up to 4. But everybody knows the first year's bad. So I said, okay,
Yeah, that's a given.
Everybody knows this, people start telling you the second year's even worse. And I thought, that's okay. I can do this. I'm going to power through. I can do this. When I finished the second year, I went, wait a minute. I thought I got through the tough years. Why is it still what went wrong? I did it already. I've gotten through. Now where am I? That's when it hit me that it's not going to go away. It's never going to go away. It's something you're going to have to learn to deal with and face every day and find support for, which is, how I met Crystal, through the W Connection, meeting other widows, talking to other people who have lost people, because other people don't understand. You understand, but the average person, the people in your family, they don't know what it's like.
That's what I'm here for, to move that needle, to get that to be in the past. Exactly. We used to not talk about that, but today we bring it up. It is on the table. It is out of the shadows.
We need to do that. I'm so grateful to you for doing it. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy for the people who can experience this with you. It would have been so helpful for me. And I did everything. I went to the cancer support community. I went to the support groups. I did all of that, but it wasn't enough. And I needed you.
No, I'm here now. This is year 4. That's when I stepped in. No, but I want to say that you are providing. You are providing it. You're giving people what the language that I wouldn't have from not having experience. You're speaking from experience, and you're giving people the language to express what it is.
Thank you. I wish I could. I wish I could help people going through it, because so much I didn't know. So much I didn't know that I wish I had known. But all you can do is pay it forward. That's all you can do.
Yes. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Pretty much answered my questions that I had here. But I was just going to ask, what do you wish someone had told you during this period? What do you wish someone had told you during this?
Honestly, I don't think anybody could have told me anything. I think I was so deep down a hole of, I think there are points in your life where there's so much emotion, there's so much pain, there's so much anger, there's so much fear, a lot of fear, that I don't know whether I could have heard anybody tell me. I do know that I reached out to people. I have a friend who was a neighbor who had lost her husband. He and Bob were real good friends. And I clung to things that she told me and listened to what she said. And she's the one that said to me, he wants to buy you a car. Let him do it. Don't shut that down, because she'd been there and she understood. So I don't know whether people could have told me anything. I wish that people could have told me to be more present, which I tried to do but wasn't very good at, to be more kind, more patient, more loving. I think that's good advice to anybody, and anything they're going through is to be more kind to yourself and to your loved ones and to everybody around you. And it was hard for me to find that kindness and that patience and that love in amongst all the fear, and the anger. I wish I could have clawed my way through all of that fear and anger and gotten to the deeper, like you were saying earlier, listening to your brother. I wish I could have listened more, but I think I was, like we said earlier, you're just you're fending it off because you don't want to think about it, you don't want to deal with it. And probably it would have been good for somebody to tell me, don't be so strong.
Don't be so. I didn't hear that.
Don't be so strong.
Oh, yes.
I was being so strong for everybody else that I'll tell you, you know what? We had to put our dog down a year before Bob died. And I remember thinking, oh, thank God Rocky didn't live. Rocky loved Bob. This would have been so hard for him. And then I thought, for God's sakes, that's the dog.
What about for you? How about for you?
I was always thinking about everybody else and to try to make it easy for them. What to say to the grandchildren, how to help them handle grief, how to approach everything. So I wish somebody had said to me, don't be so strong. Feel free to fall apart. Feel free to let them deal with it. Let to deal with you. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want anybody to be in pain because of me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to offer you to turn that advice right back to yourself right now. Right now, those are the words that what is that? The very thing that you recommend for someone else is the very advice you give someone else is advice you need to take for yourself.
Yeah,
So just be loving, gentle.
Do that. Yeah.
Be loving and gentle.
Yes, we all need to do that. It's the first thing I would say to somebody. Yeah, we need to be kind to ourselves. Yeah, it's hard to do. We're not used to that. I wasn't raised to be kind to myself.
But I'm starting to change that.
Right.
Like slowly but surely, it's like the light bulb has been turned on and it's getting brighter.
It needs to get a lot brighter for me. I need a lot more of that brightness.
Yeah. And
I'm getting it from you. I'm learning where to go to get it. That's good.
Okay, we'll get it together. I was going to say there was a book I read once that said, "What do you say when you talk to yourself? What do you say to yourself when you talk to yourself?"
Yeah.
And that's always been my plan. Would you talk to that? Would you talk this way to someone else?
Right. Yes. Yes. Treat yourself the way you would treat the person you love the most. You know,
something very precious.
Yeah. But, and this is probably a little bit off the subject, we learn to love from our parents and our families. And so, if you come from a family like mine, and my parents were wonderful people and they loved me very much, but they showed their love by criticizing me. That's the way you show your love. So you tell somebody you should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. That was wrong. You do it again. A lot of parents do that because they want their kids to be perfect. They want their kids to have an easy life. So I'm going to tell you what you should be doing instead of what you're already doing. And and that's hard, that you have to learn not to do that to yourself. Not to say to yourself, you should have done it that way. You were wrong. Why didn't you do it this way?
Yeah. I attribute mine to, especially, African American being on press culture, that you got to be strong. You don't have time for all that. That, you just got to do this right because otherwise your life could come down. So being socialized in a whole different way, being socialized in that way, and to realize, okay, I've survived, so I don't have to treat myself like that anymore. It's like, thank you, lesson learned. And, socializing my children to be, kind to themselves. And
isn't that awful that you had to be raised that way to protect you? Yeah. How unfair and how it's awful. It's awful.
Well, we're moving the needle on those. We're shining the light on that. We're shining the light on it, and that's the way anything will be changed. To see it and be aware of it. Yes. I want to ask you one last quick question. I see we're almost at time. Where does the time go? I just wanted to for you, I know you're in what's called the W connection, the Widows connection, and just wanted to ask you to speak to the importance of support groups from your perspective.
It's huge, and I'm a great believer in it. And the wonderful thing about the W connection is it's not going to a psychiatrist or a therapist or a doctor. It's just peer support. And so when you go to a meeting, and we do most of them by Zoom, you hear from other people what they're experiencing. And then you don't say to yourself, what is the matter with me? Why am I going through this? Because you know that this is something that other people go through, and you solve the problem for yourself, and then you help to show others the way in a peer support way. And that's huge. And that's how I met your sister, Crystal. You meet wonderful people, and you meet people who understand what you're going through. And your children, as much as they love you, they haven't gone through this and they don't understand what it is. And you're like me, you don't want to be a burden to them either. I don't want to be whining around all the time. You want to be somebody they want to be with. And nobody wants to be with somebody who's, being a pain in the neck. So be a pain in the neck to your widow friends. They get it. And they're okay with it.
It's a place you can go to just be you. Okay.
Be a pain in the neck.
We're at time with Carol Elizondo, and I so appreciate you, Carol. So, this has just been beautiful, and the time has flown. And I just want to say to our audience, please don't grieve alone.
Yes.
Don't grieve alone.
Yes,
reach out to family, friends, get professional help. I'm here as a grief coach Just don't do this alone.
Yes.
You need help
Yes.
to go through this grieving process.
Absolutely.
And Carol, you're just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I admire your spirit.
So wonderful. I'm so
wonderful.
So happy to be here with you. Thank you, Bonnie. You're such a
Thank you so much. And thank you. And please make a donation to New Thought Media Network.org. And thanks to New Thought Media. Thank you.
Thank you.
And love to you, Carol.
And love to you, Bonnie. And everybody else.
Okay. And you can hang around and we'll be backstage. Okay. Thank you so much. See you next week. For grief.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.